Hey there everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Sierra and I am the founder of Botterra AI, an AI automation and development company designed to help you get started selling chatbots and automations online. And today I'm going to be showing you how I built out this recommendation system for Voiceflow. Today you'll learn how I built out this entire system from scratch so that you fully understand how to build and use this for your own clients and use cases. There are so many different instances where recommendation systems like this are useful for everything from real estate to e-commerce to content recommendation and so much more. So today, by the end of it, you will have an automation built out that looks just like this and can recommend products to people and look like this. This is the actual system in action. We'll go ahead and restart this here and start the conversation. But if I were to ask and say, I need a tank top and send that in, and it'll think for a second, our system will come up with recommended products to our users for them to go click on and purchase. This automation is super awesome. It's really useful for any Voiceflow chatbot. And if you want to make it super easy for yourself, you don't want to start from scratch, you maybe don't even want to watch this entire video, you can go ahead and find the template for this in the description below. I'm giving you a massive discount just for watching this video, so make sure you go and grab that. So here we are. I'm just going to walk you through really quick a presentation of kind of how this video is going to work, some of the things that you're going to need to set up for us to get started, and some of the use cases for this automation. So without further ado, today we will be building a Voiceflow recommendation system. Now, if you don't know what Voiceflow is, I'll kind of walk us through what it is later, but it is my favorite chatbot building platform. I highly recommend that you use it. We're also going to be understanding the use cases of recommendation systems within chatbots, and we're also going to learn how to connect Airtable to Voiceflow. So this is kind of what we will be learning today, a little bit of the agenda. Here's what you're going to need. It's just two different accounts. If you don't already have Voiceflow set up, go set up Voiceflow. It is a chatbot builder. Make yourself an account. And the other thing that we're going to need today is Airtable. Now, Airtable is basically just like a glorified version of Google Sheets. It's a database platform that allows you to store data in like CSV and spreadsheet format. So I highly recommend that you download this. It will be needed for today's automation. This is where you're going to be storing the information about your products or whatever you're trying to recommend to your users. So make sure that you make an account for that. All right, and on this last slide here, we have the use cases for a recommendation system like this. Now, as you can see, there are very few use cases on here because there are so many other great options for ways that we can use this. And if you have any other ideas that aren't on here already, drop them in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think of or other instances where you are going to use this system. But the main one that this is used for in the example we're using today is for e-commerce. Now, honestly, almost every e-commerce store that I've worked with typically wants to have a functionality like this because it reduces the friction for users to find products. It makes it really easy for them to find different things to buy. The second use case is for real estate, and I actually have another template for a recommendation system specifically for real estate in the description below as well. I'll have one for e-commerce and one for real estate to make it easier for you to set up for both of these use cases. But for real estate, it's great for recommending properties and stuff like that for real estate agencies that are looking to match users with homes that fit their criteria. And the last use case here is for content search. It's really good for helping users find everything from blogs to YouTube videos, articles, and everything in between. So these are the three main use cases that I have used this template and this design for, and we'll have two separate templates for e-commerce and real estate in the description below if you want to use both for different use cases, but today we'll be focusing on the e-commerce one. So with that in mind, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So now we are in a brand new chatbot that we just built. This is a new workflow. And when you create a new agent or a new workflow, it's going to give you all of this stuff here. We don't want this. We're going to delete all of this right here, right now. So just select all that and delete it. Now, the only thing that we want is this green start button right here. Let that be, let that hang out there for a little bit. And now that we have that set up, we're just going to do a couple of housekeeping things. So the first thing that we need to do is just create a nice little welcome message for our users. So we're going to go and create a new connection, go to talk, go to text, and I actually already have what I want it to say. You can write out pretty much whatever you want for this, but I want my chatbot to say, let me know what product you're looking for, and I'll see what product I can find that you may like. So we're going to be selling like clothing products and everything like that, but this could work for so many different things. So this is not exclusive to clothing products. You can use it for everything from selling candles to colognes to, I don't know, furniture. anything. So that's going to be our first block, and it'll be our welcome message. And this is going to be a variable setting block. So what we're going to do here is we are going to go to logic and set, and we're going to click here and press variables to set. And we actually need to create a new variable for this, and we're going to call it AI question. Amazing. So we're creating that variable, and we're going to set this to the last utterance. So the last utterance is basically the last thing that the user said. So when we prompt them to answer this question, we're going to set the AI to whatever the person typed in as their question. So whatever they said as their last utterance, the last thing that the user had said is going to be set to the AI question. This is what we are asking the AI to go and find for us. And we're just going to go ahead and add one more block here so that we can capture what the user is saying. We're going to go to listen. We're going to add a capture block, and we're just going to leave this as is. Capture user reply to last utterance. So that's the last block that we're going to add for this. So now the next thing we're going to do is set our Airtable URL. So what we're going to do here is open this, and we're going to create a new logic and set block, and I am actually going to change this color to blue so that we can kind of keep track of what we're doing here. And we're going to name this Airtable URL. We're going to change this to variables to set. We're going to press this plus sign here. Oh, not twice, just once. Move that, set variable. And we're going to create a new variable, and we need to call this Airtable URL. Amazing. And we're going to go ahead and set this variable to our Airtable URL. Now, you're probably wondering, where do I find my Airtable URL? All right, so now we're going to head over to Airtable. If you don't have an account, you can sign up for free, or you can sign in. They give you a lot of free credits when you first start, so make sure that you go ahead and sign up if you haven't already. That is necessary for this tutorial today. So you're going to go to Airtable and follow the link in the description to go and sign up. They give you a ton of free credits if you don't already have an account yet, but here I am in my Airtable. Now, you can start from scratch, but if you go ahead and get the template in the description, I'm actually providing you the example Airtable spreadsheet that I'm using. And today we're going to be using this Gymshark Products CSV here. And as we can see, this is a super easy example. It's just 29 products. We're keeping it simple today just so that we can start small, but you can have so many more products and so many more categories. But for today, we're just going to start with these 4 main categories right here. So we have the product name, the category, the URL, and the image. Now, this is extremely important that we have our database set up well. Now, I know a lot of this is about the chatbot and everything, but a lot of this has to do with your data curation and understanding how these databases work. So what's happening here is we have the product name, pretty self-explanatory, the name of the product. We have a category, the URL to go purchase the product, and the image for the product. Now, if you remember from the example that I showed you all earlier, it displayed in the cards the name of the product, the URL for the product by pressing the purchase button, and the image for the product. And it did not display the category, but we're utilizing the category to help the AI figure out what products the user is looking for. Now, this is how I organize this for the gym company Gymshark, but your categories might change or be different. So you need to make sure that you're paying attention, because if you have more than 4 categories and you want to display different things, there are variables that might change later on. So make sure you're paying attention for that, because you might have to add variables, remove variables, change the name of variables, depending on what you choose to put in the spreadsheet. But for now, if we're just starting out, I recommend that you start with the product name, the category, the URL, and the image to start out. So what we're going to do is we're in our little database. We're going to go up here to our little icon here. We're going to go to Developer Hub. And once we do that, we're going to go over here on the left to Resources, Developer Docs. It'll open like a new link, and you're going to go to API Docs for the Web API. Amazing. So I have a couple of workspaces here, but we're focusing on the Gymshark Products one today. So I'm going to go ahead and press on this because that's the database that we're using. Now, notice we're in these developer docs and we're in the metadata section, and we're at the example. Now, this line right here is important. Next to this curl, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this real quick, we have this URL. We're going to copy from HTTPS all the way to where this slash is right before imported. Do you see what I'm copying here? Only copy that section. Do not copy the whole thing. Just copy that section. And we're going to head back over to our workflow, press on this, and set the variable. Make sure that you put it in individual quotes. So put it in those little single quotation marks, and your Airtable URL will be set. Outstanding. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we have to create that Airtable query. So we're creating a way to query our Airtable database. So a little bit of a rundown of kind of how this is going to work. We're basically going to be using AI to comprehend the user's AI question, is what we call the variable, or what the user is asking for. And we're going to turn that into a JSON query, because the way that you can pull information from Airtable is by turning whatever the user's question is into a JSON query, which is basically just the language that Airtable understands to be able to pull information from these databases. So all we're going to be doing here is turning the user's question into an Airtable query, using that Airtable query to pull whatever product matches their query. Amazing. So we're going to open a new block, and we're going to go down to logic. We're going to go to set, and we're going to set a brand new variable here. We're going to press variable set, and we're going to make a new variable called number _ responses. And basically what this is doing here, and this is important, what we're doing here is we are setting the maximum number of responses that Airtable is allowed to pull from your database. So what we're going to be choosing to do today is we're going to let the maximum number be 4. So the chatbot can pull up to 4 different products from the Airtable database. Now, you may want more, you may want less, but it can pull between 1 and 4 different products. I choose 4 because I think 4 is a lucky number. But say you want it to pull 10. You could have this chatbot pull 10, but it could be a little bit tedious. And I'm going to go through how that works later. So we set the number of responses to 4. I'm going to change this block to blue again. And the next thing that's going to happen is an Airtable conversion. So we're going to add another block, and we're going to do AI and set AI. Now, this is the step where we are converting the user's AI question into a JSON query for Airtable. So what's going to happen here is we're going to have to prompt it. So I'm going to just go ahead and grab the prompt that's in my template. And if you want this prompt, you can grab it in the template so that you don't have to type it all out. It'll make it a lot easier. But I'm going to grab this prompt. This is the prompt here. All it's saying is, convert the following query to an Airtable formula. The query is this AI question here, and then I'm going to put a little space. If there's no valid query, reply there is no valid query. So this is the simple prompt that we're going to be using. Now we need to apply this to a new variable, and we're going to name this variable Airtable query. So this is the query that we're going to send to Airtable. So we created that new variable. We're going to apply whatever the AI comes up with based on this prompt to the Airtable query. Now, remember, make sure that you set the AI question variable, otherwise this will not work. All right, the other thing we're going to have to do with this Airtable conversion is we're going to have to open up the prompt settings here. And in here, we have a very, 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 very important prompt. This is the prompt that is giving the directions on how the AI is supposed to convert the user's question or request into a JSON query. So if you have the template, you'll have access to this prompt, but you could just take a brief look at this here. But we basically just need to have very clear directions on exactly how we want the AI to turn the user's question into an Airtable query. So take a look at this real quick, pause if you need to, but I recommend that you grab the template to make it a little easier for yourself. But with that in mind, we'll move on to the next block in this flow. Wonderful. So now we're going to get into another important aspect. So we're going to open another block here, and we're going to open up under logic, condition. Let's put this right here. And again, we're going to change this to blue because this is all the Airtable stuff. And right here is going to be valid query. We'll call it that, question mark. And what we're doing is we're putting in an if statement. And we're trying to figure out, we're going to add a condition here. And we're going to add variable is right here. So if, scroll down to our Airtable query, if Airtable query contains, and we'll put in a quote, no valid query, press enter. Then what's going to happen is we're going to have it connect to an error message, and we're going to put all of our error messages up here. So if it has no valid query, we're going to put in an error message, and we're just going to call talk. We're going to do text, and we're going to put all of our error messages in red here. And this is, we're going to call this invalid query. Now this is important. This is going to help you figure out if you have any errors later on. But we're going to say no valid query. And then we're going to put in what the query was. So we're going to put in the variable Airtable query so that when you screw up and maybe the AI just doesn't understand what the query is, we put in that it is not a valid query, and we put in exactly what the query is. And then we're going to have it just flow back to the beginning and have the user type back in what they're asking for, just as a little bit of a way to ensure that the data we're giving it is correct. So that's what happens if it is wrong. Now, what we're going to do is we went ahead and clicked on no match, and that creates an else statement. And if we have an else statement, so if there actually is a valid query, we're going to go into our next step here. And this is going to be a dev block, and it's going to be an API dev block, because this is the part where we're going to be connecting to our Airtable API. Amazing. So we're going to call this API call for Airtable. Awesome. So now we have this little API block, and let me change this to blue so that we're making sure that we indicate what it is, Airtable. And we have this get block here, and what we're going to do is I have, this will be in the template, but we'll go ahead and paste this in. And so what we're doing here, what we're doing here is making a URL for where we are trying to query these results. So we're going to take that Airtable URL that we copied originally, and if you recall, remember how we skipped out on this like imported section? We just typed that in directly, and then we also added a few other statements. We are adding to this API GET request that the maximum number of records is going to equal the number of responses. This is the variable that we set right here. And we're also going to say filter by formula is going to equal our Airtable query. If we recall, we set our Airtable query right here under Airtable conversion. So this URL is just a GET request. We're giving it the information for what we want to get, how much information we want to get, and we're sending that into Airtable. So now we have to add another important piece of information. We have to add our headers. So we're going to press our headers here. We only need one, and we're going to call this authorization. Now this is for our API key. So when we send this GET request for the API, we're basically telling it where it's going to get the information and what information we want it to get. But we're also going to need our authorization to actually pull that information. We need the API key. So what we're going to do here is set bearer, press that, and then we're going to go back to our Airtable, and we're going to just go ahead and open up that base that we had. And we're going to go back into my little icon up here, Developer Hub, and we're going to create a new token. And this is going to be Rec System Video. So I pressed create a new token, and we're creating a new personal access token. So this is what's going to give Voiceflow the ability to access this table. And we're going to add all of the scopes. By adding all of the scopes, that means that we can just give Voiceflow the access to make changes and pull information from our database. So just add all the scopes, press the plus sign on all these. And then for access, we need to clarify what base or what database we want it to access. That's going to be my Gymshark products. Make sure that you select whatever your base is that you want. Now we're going to press create token. Our token has been created. Copy this token. Go back into your recommendation system. Under bear, we're just going to go ahead and paste that in. And so we're going to have bear and then our API key here. Outstanding. Next, we're going to add a capture response section, and we're just going to call this response, and we're going to apply it to a new variable called AI output. So create that new variable, create variable. So whatever the response is or whatever we pull from the API, the Airtable API, we're going to set that to the AI output. So whatever the response is. Amazing. So if that is a success, then we'll move on to our next step, which is going to be a JavaScript step. So we're going to create this, we're going to go to dev, and we're going to go to JavaScript. Now I'm going to get into this in a second. We're going to also add what happens if it fails. So if it fails, we're just going to go ahead and go add an error message here. And we're going to add a set AI. And when we do that, we're just going to call this response not found. And I already have the prompt for this, so I'm going to paste that in. This is just a proof to figure out, hey, there's an error. We need to make sure that we notify them that there's a problem, and that's that. So we tell the user that there's a problem, and we're just going to send them straight back to the beginning, and we're going to change this to red because all of our errors are going to be red. Outstanding. So we set up that error if it's an else, if the API request fails. But if it succeeds with JavaScript block, and this is where we're going to be dealing with actual JavaScript code. Now, if you don't know how to code, that is totally fine. You just need to know how to copy and paste and change out some variables if you need to. So don't worry if this is confusing, but if you want a more detailed description of how it works, you're welcome to put it in the ChatGPT or whatever, but I'm going to try to explain this the best that I can, or at least the information that you need to know. So I'm pasting in the JavaScript that we'll need to use for this. If you have the template, you'll already have the JavaScript in there for you, and you won't really have to do that much with it. But I just want to point out a couple of things here. So we're going to notice a few things that are pretty important. The first thing is right here, we are setting different variables. We're setting up variables to be used later on so that we can store information that's pulled from our Airtable database and then use those variables later to display it on cards. So there might be something you're going to notice here. If we go back into our Airtable database, we'll notice, and I'm going to put these side by side so that you can see this. You're going to notice that the product name, that is the name of the top of this column. It's product name. And we're going to change it. I decided to change the formatting of it to product uppercase name. And this just means that we're setting this new variable product name to the variable that is in this column product name. So notice that they correlate to each other. This is important. They correlate to each other. Same thing with the category. The name of it in our database is called category. That's what we have it named here. The name of this URL in our database is called URL. That's what we have it named in here. So product URL, summary URL. Or you're noticing a common theme here. This is important. We're just setting the variables so that when we pull information from our database, it's going into this JavaScript. The next thing that's happening here is we have the formatted response in summarized properties. And we'll notice that before we had already made this AI output variable, and we're utilizing that in this line right here, line 24. So again, you actually don't need to know how all this works. Mainly, I just wanted to make sure that I point out that these variables are being set and that the variables have to correlate to what is in your database. So I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say that I decided to go into my database and I decided to add the category price. And this is going to be a number, and we're going to create the field, and we've got the price is $1 or $2 and $3 and $4. We have a new variable that we need to account for if we want to use it. So we have price here. It's called price. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to copy one of these, create a new one, and change this out to be price. Oh, sorry. To be price. And to be price. And to be price. They all need to be price. So that's how you can add a new variable if you're adding different information. Now, say you decide to delete something out of this. Say we decide to delete price or deleting this field. You just have to delete the line. That's all you have to do. And then that's not being used anymore. So just make sure that before you're using different sections and columns of this database that you are declaring these different variables in the JavaScript. Outstanding. So that is set up. The next thing that we're going to do, and actually, let's go ahead and make sure this is formatted. So this is for the formatting of the variables. So you don't need to fully understand how it works. If you just want to use 4 different sections, just copy exactly what I have. But if you want to change out the variables and stuff, make sure that you're changing out these names to correlate with what's in your database here. That's super important. This is like the most important aspect of all of it. So make sure that you do that. But we're going to go ahead and add another step to this JavaScript. So we're going to go to dev, JavaScript. Block color is going to be green because this is a JavaScript section. And this is going to be variable format. So now that we basically kind of declared what our variables are going to be, we're going to be formatting these variables now. And this is going to be some new JavaScript as well. So we created this new JavaScript block, and I want to recall back to something that's kind of important later on, but we're going to actually need 4 of these JavaScript blocks. So we're going to go ahead and add 4 of these. Now, if you can guess why we might need 4, if you recall, the reason we need 4 is because we set the number of responses to be 4. We set the number of responses to be 4. So say that you decided you want to add 5, 6, 7, or you only want it to display up to 3 different products. You're going to need to add or delete JavaScript blocks based on the number of responses, that variable that you set. So we set it to 4. We set it to 4 responses. We need to set it to 4 JavaScript blocks. So if you have the template, this will already be set up for you, which makes it a lot easier. And the first block, we're going to add this information. So what we're doing here is we're basically setting the first product that it pulls as a variable name print. So the product number 1, whatever the first product is that our API finds, we are going to set that to this. So name print, category print, image print, URL print. And we're not actually displaying price for this specific chatbot, and it's not in our table, but I just wanted to use this as an example that if you are displaying a number, you need to turn it into a string. So it can't display numbers on the cards. It has to be a string. So to do that, you just add this little JSON.stringify, and it turns the number into a string so that it can be displayed on the card. But we don't actually need this. So if we want, we can remove it. But if you're choosing to display a number, you need to turn the number into a string. So this is all we need, is all of this for the first one. What we're going to do now, we're going to copy this, and we're going to head into this next block. Now this is for the second one, and all we're going to do is change it to name print 1, name print, image print 1, category print 1. All this are going to be changed to 1, and we can actually delete the product count here because we only need to set the product count in this first block. Again, we don't need to go into the details of all this code. You can actually just put it into ChatGPT or look up exactly what it's doing, but we do not need that last block there. And what we're going to do is all of these zeros that we have, we're going to change these to 1s. And this is the 1 is going to represent the second piece of information for the second product that we are getting. Because it doesn't actually start at 1, it starts at 0. So the first product is going to be represented as zeros. The next product will be 1s. And I guess you can guess now that we're going to do the next one is going to be 2s. So we're going to change all these to 2s. Along with all of this here is going to be changed into a 2. And if you have the template, you don't have to go through and do all this, but yeah. So we have that. And then for this last one, all of these are going to be turned into 3s. This is for 4 products, so it goes from 0 to 3, each number representing 4 products. If you want to add a 5th product, you just have to add another JavaScript block into this. And again, change all of the variables in here to 4s to represent the 5th product. Outstanding. So now we have that JavaScript block set up. So now we're getting to the part where we have to set a bunch of new variables. And these variables are actually going to be the things that we actually set in these JavaScript blocks right here. So if you have the template, you'll see that I actually made a list of all the variables that we're going to need for this specific automation. And what we're going to do here is we have this list, so make sure you get a nice close look at this. You know all the ones that you need to have added. Some of these we haven't actually added quite yet, but basically we're going to have to add formatted response and all of these ones down here. And you'll notice that these ones I have highlighted are all of the variables that we declared in these different variable formatting JavaScript blocks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head back here and we're going to go to our variables. And we can see that some of the variables in this list we already added naturally as we were going through this process, but we're going to go ahead and add the ones that we're missing now. And the first one is going to be formatted response. We're going to create that variable. Next one is going to be image print. And the reason that we're declaring all these variables is because we need to declare them in order to put them inside of the cards that we're going to use to display all of the products. So if there's a piece of content that you want to display for the user, you're gonna have to store it in variables. So we have to have all the stuff that we're displaying today in a variable. So there we go. That is all of the variables that we were missing. You should have pretty much every single one that was on our list. So we have all of our image prints, we have all of our name prints, and we have all of our URL prints. We also have the formatted response, AI output, AI question, Airtable query, Airtable URL, and number of responses. So all the stuff that we need is there. So let's go back into our workflow. We created all these variables so we can check that off. Make sure that you do this. Go through and check a second time to make sure you have all of them. You need every single one. Amazing. So now that we have all of the variables set up, the next thing that we're going to need to do after this green block here is we're going to add, for this default, we're going to add a logic and an if condition, and we're going to change this to a little orange color to represent this new section of the chatbot we're working with. And this is going to be checking products came through. We can say that. So this is checking that the products actually were pulled and were able to come through the JavaScript properly. So what we're going to have to do here is create an add condition, and this is going to be for a variable. So we're going to check if the variable, and let's do name print, is 0, then we're going to send an error message. So what this is doing here is we are checking if there is actually a value under name print. So we're naming this the first one. So this is just checking to see if at least one product came through and was recommended. So we have this here. We have our name print. And if this works, if this does not work, then we're going to have an error. And let's just zoom out here. And we're going to add this error up here next to this one. And we're going to say talk, and you can name this something that's a little more user-friendly, but for our use case while we're developing, I'm just going to say invalid query, no products came through. Typically when this issue happens, I'll say check your variables. Typically, that's what happens when this is an issue. Now, when you're actually displaying this to users who are using this for a business, you might want to change this to be something like, we could not find any products for you. So there's two things that could be happening. The first thing is that you just screwed up the variables. And the second thing is that the question that the user is asking actually does not have any products. So typically, when you're testing it, you're going to ask for something that is in the actual product list that you have. But if you're giving this to actual users, typically the issue is that they typed in something that we aren't actually selling. So we're just going to leave it as we could not find any products for you, but you could change it to something else that could help you figure out what exactly the error is. So we're going to change that to a red block, and we could say no products found. And you can see here, this is what it'll look like. And that's going to go up here. And we're going to, once again, send them back to the beginning, and we'll just leave this in line with this variable. So then we have that. Amazing. So now we're going to go back down to this little orange one, and we're going to do a no match, which is just an else statement. This else statement is going to lead into our next section, but before we do that, we're also just going to connect the fail here. The reason that we connect the fail here is because if it fails, it'll still go to the same error, but the JavaScript could still work even if nothing comes through. So we want, whether it fails or it passes, we want both of them to go through this block to check if something came through. Because if it fails, obviously nothing came through, so it'll send you up here. But even if it does pass, sometimes it will still pass. It could still mean that there's no variables or any products that came through. So we just put both of these through the if statement to check if there's anything in there. So now we have this else statement here, as I had mentioned, and we already have what happens if it does happen. But if it does not happen, we're going to head down into another block, and this is going to be another logic if condition block. And we're going to change this to our orange. And what we're doing here is we're checking to make sure we're showing the right amount of product. So this is we're going to call this show the right amount of products. Amazing. So we're setting this to show the right amount of products, and we're just going to add a couple of conditions. The first condition is just going to be called 1. This is if there is one product. And this condition is just going to check add a condition, variable, product count. Oh, we'll actually have to create this. So we're going to change this. This is one thing that we forgot. We have to create the variable product count. So create the variable product count. We're going to create this. And if it is 1, that means that we have one product. Awesome. So then we have this one product. This is showing the right amount of products. This is the if statement. And what we're going to do here is you are welcome to add an AI block, and this is totally optional for you. So you can add a response AI, so we can go ahead and add this AI block, and this is totally up to you if you want to add this. It's kind of just like a follow-up, makes it a little more user-friendly. You can just go ahead and add this prompt, and this is just going to basically give sort of like a reasoning as to why the model had picked out this specific product for the user and how it's related to what they asked for. If you read this, you'll kind of understand it a little bit better. But what we're going to do is we're going to set this variable. We're going to create a new variable, and we're going to just call it text. So this is just like recommendation text. So we're basically just summarizing what the AI came up with in a block of text before we show the cards so that the user kind of better understands why we recommend this product. And all we're going to call this is AI summary 1. So it's just going to summarize what we came up with. So this is the AI summary number 1, and we're going to have this spurt out into another block that is going to be a talk and a card block. Now, here is where we are actually going to be displaying these different products that we found. So the first thing we're going to do is for this title here under this card, we're going to put a bracket, and then we're going to scroll down and select name print. Remember, the variable name print represents the first product. And notice that this is for the first product that comes up. If the product is just one product, we create an AI summary for the product, and then we display the card. That's what's going on here. So we're going to print out the name, and we're also going to print out, in this link here, we're going to do the image as well. So instead of upload, we're going to click on link and opening bracket, and we're going to go to image print, and then we're going to add the button for the user to purchase this product. So we're going to call it purchase. We'll put a little exclamation point there. And the action, we're going to press on this action plus sign here, and we're going to press open URL. And remember, we're pulling the URL as well. So when we press on open URL, we're going to do an open bracket, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to find URL print for the first URL for the first product. Now, congratulations, because we have now finished this to the point where if we have one product, we will present one card. So outstanding. But now we have to do it for all the other 4 products that could potentially pop up. So let's add another condition, and this is going to be 2, and we're going to say if the variable product count is 2, then we're going to do another AI summary, and we're going to have it go here, set AI, and we're going to just paste in a different prompt this time, and this is just to account for the other ones. So we're going to copy this, we're going to delete this, and we're going to paste this in. And now notice that instead of just having one product, we have 2 products. So name print 1 for the second product. And again, all we're doing here is summarizing why the AI chose the products that it did, and we're setting this variable to, and we're going to be setting this variable to text. Amazing. So now this is going to be the text recommendation if we have 2 products. And we're going to call this AI summary. So now we're going to add a next block, and we're going to talk, and instead of displaying it as a card, we're actually going to display it this time as a carousel. So we're going to go to talk, carousel, and we have this first card here, and it's going to have to be the exact same as this card. So we're going to copy image print, because this is for displaying the first product of the 2 products, and we're also going to get name print. And we're putting both of those in here to be stored as variables, and then we have to add the button once again that says purchase, actions. We're going to press the actions button here so that when they press that purchase button, it opens the URL and it's going to open URL print. So that's for the first one. Now, if we open this again, we're going to have to add another card because remember, this is for if there is 2 products that the system finds. So this is for the second product. We're going to press on link again. We're going to open up this variable and we're going to go to image print 1. We're going to open this again and we're going to go to name print 1 and then we're going to go to the button, press the plus sign, name this purchase, a little exclamation point, press actions, open URL, and now we're going to open URL print 1. So now that's if we have 2 products that the recommendation system finds. But remember, we have 4. So now we have to add 2 more. So this is going to be for 3, and we're going to add the condition variable if purchase count. I forgot what the variable was called real quick. If, oh my goodness, sometimes it doesn't work too well. Product count is 3, enter. Then we are going to open up another AI summary. We're going to have AI, set AI. Let's separate these just a little bit. And we're basically just going to copy the same thing. We're going to name the variable text for recommendation text. And all we're going to do is add a third one here. And we're going to say for the third product, and we're going to change it instead of name print 1. We're just going to delete this and change it to name print 2. So now this is for displaying 3 products. And I'm guessing you can guess the same process. Once again, we're going to open, go to talk, go to carousel. And I would actually recommend just copying this and pasting it and dragging it in here. And then all you'll have to do from there is add another card and press on link once again. Call it image print 2 and name print 2, and then the button once again, we're going to call the button, we're going to have it say purchase, and the action that's going to happen when you press on it is to open a URL that is going to be our URL print 2. So now we're going to do the last one here. This is going to be the 4th one. Amazing. So now we are fully set up almost for all of the different cards. The only thing we have to do now is because we only set the AI, we didn't actually display the AI summary here. All we have to do is add one more block to the bottom here. And this is just going to be a text block. So we're going to go talk, text, and all we're going to do is take the variable recom text, which we created here. We stored the AI's response in the variable recom text. And we're going to put that here so that once it spits out what the product recommendation is, we're also going to spit out why we came up with that recommendation. And we're going to do the same thing for all of these. So let's just go ahead and copy and paste that and put that in here. Outstanding. Awesome. So congratulations, everyone. You have officially created your recommendation system in Voiceflow utilizing AirTable. This is a really hard system to build out, and I'm really glad that you have all followed along with me this full way through. You should be super proud of yourselves. But the last step here is to publish this chatbot and then press this back arrow here, go down and press share prototype and open that thing in a new tab because we are going to test out your creation. So what we're going to do here is press start conversation, and I'm just going to ask for something that's on our product list. Let's say I need a shirt, and it's going to think for a second. Boom, we have outputted 3 different shirts that are recommended by our system. If we press on the link, it will actually open the link here and show us the t-shirt to purchase. So you have officially made your recommendation system. Congratulations, everyone. This is perfect for your e-commerce use cases or anything else. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what other use cases you think this would be good for, and make sure that you snag that template if you get confused or lost along the way. Now, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below, press that alert bell so that you're notified when I have new videos, and make sure that you go and check us out at botterra.ai. You could check out all of our other templates on our marketplace there, or if you're looking to start your own AI agency, you can work with us to help get yourself started. So make sure that you do that, and I will see you in the next one.